Hi there, I'm Aaron with Leadferno, the conversion platform to help you close more leads faster, powered by text messaging. This video is about closing leads, the ability to manage your inbox effectively by closing out conversations and leads that have reached an end result. So why should you close leads? Well, there's three main reasons to dive into. We'll jump into the app shortly and show you some examples on why and how this works. But number one, it helps simplify your inbox. Removing conversations and leads that are no longer active or resolved just makes sense. If you have too many open new leads, it's going to block your view of open leads that are receiving new replies. Number two is it helps keep you on top of replies and open leads and helps give you a really accurate to-do list. Things should only be open that actually need attention or have a next available step for them to take place in the inbox. And lastly, number three is to help ensure accurate reporting data. With Leadferno's internal reports, you're able to see both quantity and quality of conversations. So when you're talking about things like your average time to first reply, your overall average to reply times, and total times to resolution, these really require you being accurate in your responses and closing them out in order to get the truth in the data of what's taken place. So with that, let's jump into our desktop app and take a look at closing leads. So now that we're in the web app, let's take a look at why you want to close these leads and the act of closing them, how to do it. Now, we're in the web app right now, and this works just the same in the mobile app as well. These inboxes are identical with same features. Obviously, just the layout and user experience is a little bit different between the two. So number one, I want to point out that when you have multiple leads that are new leads, these ones that are in orange here with the flame icon, we automatically stack these to the top of the screen. And we do this because these are the number one priority. Getting them a human response is what you want to do first. Now, obviously, our system has automatic replies, so we're going to automatically send them a reply unless you have that turned off when that new lead comes in. But what we're measuring against and prompting you for is that a human has responded to this. So number one, when you have a large buildup of new leads in orange, it's going to start to take up all this space over here on the left side. And now leads that have come in that you have replied to or received a new reply to, you're not going to see those within your screen view because they're going to get buried. So number one, an important thing you don't want to do is let a bunch of new leads pile up. And so when you come in and see these new leads in orange, you definitely want to be responding to them so they can move from being a new lead to an open lead. So real quick, I'll just go into this lead that we got here from Fred. I will click to assign it to myself, so I'm now the owner of it, and I'm going to type Fred a message. And ask how I can help him. So we now see over on this left side that Fred moved from being an orange lead to being a blue open lead. And so that simple premise is one way to keep your inbox from being cluttered up, is make sure you're responding to these new leads. Now, a couple of things I will hear time to time from customers is based on what's best for their communication, their sales process, or their funnel is when they get in that new lead, what they want to do instead of texting them back is place a phone call to them. And it's up to you. You can definitely do those things. But if you do that, you should be closing out that new lead when you go to make that call and then tracking it in your CRM or a different system you're using. Or take the step even just as basic as replying to that text with, great, I'm going to give you a call right now. Then you've given it that human reply. It's tracking the first reply in ours. You're moving it from being a new lead in orange and de-emphasizing it in the dashboard in the inbox and moving it down to being a blue open lead. So if we're doing that, if we take Sam's lead here and we can just say, great, giving you a call now, and I send that. Now Sam moves to being a blue lead instead of being in orange, which is exactly what we wanted to have happen. So this provides one angle where you don't want a bunch of new leads to build up. It'll block your view of open leads that are replying to you or engaging. One other thing that we hear brought up from time to time managing inboxes is with a shared inbox, a lead comes in and specifically they wanted someone else to look at it, but I jumped into and looked at it. And it removed the reply dot that we see here in orange on Cooper's thread and conversation here. So if that happens, if mistakenly I went into Sam as an open lead right now and I wanted his reply to be seen by someone else, I can simply re-engage this reply by going in and just assigning the conversation once again. This one's still unassigned. So if I just keep it assigned to who's there and press to transfer it, it's now going to return that unread dot to it. So now we see we're back to the dot appearing. So if you ever accidentally jump into a conversation that's assigned to someone else or unassigned and you want it to maintain that dot profile, all you do is go in, use the transfer buttons, transfer it to the exact person it's already transferred to. So you don't select anyone else. You just hit transfer and now it'll do so. All right, so let's say that we help Fred here and we help him reach a resolution. Here's how you can close that lead. So I can close the lead by clicking the check mark that's outlined in a circle, either from the preview when I'm in the desktop app or at the top of the screen within the desktop app or mobile, and click close lead. Now when I click to close the lead, we get a modal about closing the conversation. I'm able to add a summary to the conversation and then mark the lead as won, lost, or other. Now, these three things can mean something different for every business, how you're using Leadferno. So what I always recommend is sit down with your team and determine what is a win, what is a loss, what is other, and figure out conversation outcomes and how they apply to these. A win might be obviously getting a sale. It might be setting an appointment. It might be them agreeing to a demo. It might be them giving your email address. So wins for your business, your process, the service or product you're selling might vary. But determine those as a team so people are very familiar with what constitutes a win. Loss could be the customer not responding after a certain amount of time or a certain amount of attempts. Them saying, no, you're not a fit, them refusing to answer questions, just ghosting the conversation. And other might be something that just doesn't fall into those two. You have use cases or outcomes or, what the person was attempting to do when they reached out you was totally not in line, or they accidentally reached out to the wrong business. Who knows? But the other category helps field those. So my next tip is to define what's a win, what's a loss, what's a other within your conversations. That way the team doesn't have any issue with closing things out because they don't know how to mark it. They don't know how it falls into. So the next thing we can do is use the conversation summary. So I can say, Fred bought a boat. And put down the model that he purchased, and I can mark this as one. Now, when we close a conversation, it already moves that conversation into our archive. One thing you might already know about Leadferno, we do not allow anything to be deleted, but when a conversation is closed out, it archives that conversation. And at any time, I can go in and take a look at that history and any of the conversations that I've previously had with Fred before, and if I want to reopen them and revisit them. You can also do this in the mobile app by clicking on the contact name. Once you do that, you're then brought to their contact screen, and you'll see all of the past conversations there that, again, you can dig into the thread. So again, both web and mobile app allow you to do this. So you don't have to worry about closing a conversation and never seeing it again, because you can always get back into that conversation. You can always re-message that customer, pick a conversation back up, start a new one with them. So that should not be a concern with what you're doing. So, all right, we've talked about how to keep your inbox view clean, how to make sure you're responding to all these leads, moving them from orange into blue. When you're interacting with them in blue and you've reached a resolution, they're no longer engaging. We know there is a fit or there isn't a fit. It's been resolved. You want to close these leads out. And lastly, I'll just touch on that real quick. Here's just one reason why. Our reporting data makes it a lot easier for us to be able to see and understand how we're doing and interacting with these customers. So by responding, we see what our average first reply time is. So even in my scenario where you are maybe going to call or email that customer, even though they texted in, by just giving them a quick reply that's what you're going to do, you now are accurately tracking your first reply time to that lead coming in. And lastly, the total resolution time. You're going to be able to see what that looks like from when the lead first came in and was open all the way until you click to close it off. And then lastly, within this report, we are able to give you detailed information on how this performed for each user. So specifically to you as a user or your team as users, you want them closing things out because then you can see How many of those were one conversations? What's their average first reply time? What's the total resolution time? So hopefully this look at closing conversations, why you want to close conversations, some of the problems that can happen when you don't close conversations, and how you keep your reports accurate and clean by closing conversations all makes sense to you and you're ready to jump on board with it. Thanks for watching this video, and always stay tuned to our YouTube channel for more tips, tricks, and videos on Leadferno features.